YouTube, what is up? It's your boy Gordo here, and I am out here on the beautiful Long Lake, and I'm sitting here and it's gotta be 90 degrees. It's hot. It's middle of August, but deer season's right around the corner, and also fall fishing. Fall fishing is right around the corner, guys. And so you know what I've never done on my channel is create my favorite baits, right? So I've never done one of those before. So you know what I'm gonna do before the fall gets here? I'm gonna show you my 5 favorite, absolute favorite baits for the fall, whether it's largemouth or smallmouth fishing. And sorry if this is crazy because there's wakeboarders everywhere, which is another great thing about the fall. They're all gone. So my number one bait that I have picked up 100% of the time, I have tied on 100% of the time, is the classic Swimbait. So there's 1,000 different brands of swim baits out there, which I'm not going to get into all of that. I use the paddle tail swim baits, soft paddle tail swim baits. I mean, there's swim bait's such a broad category. Just to dumb it down, is what I do personally is I use a 1/2 ounce head. Typically, I use a 1/2 ounce head because I'm usually fishing a little bit deeper. With the swim baits, I try to target the grass lines, that type of deal. Try to get a little bit deeper with these. So I throw a 1/2 ounce head, and I throw anywhere between the 4.3 Kitech and the next size up, whatever that is. But in the Rage swimmers, it's the 4.7. But that's pretty much the size that I stick to. I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and I'm gonna kind of group this together. But the underspin, if you're not throwing an underspin, you're greatly hindering your catching ability. Honestly, the underspin is gotta be, I will have both of these tied on at the same time. The Owner Flashy Swimmer, I have tried several different underspins. The Owner Flashy Swimmer is by far my absolute favorite. As for my swim bait rod, like I said, I'm throwing a 1/2 ounce. I'm not throwing the 2 ounce Huddlestons and all that. So for this setup right here, medium heavy, I like a 7 foot 7 to 3. I do a medium heavy and 15-pound fluorocarbon, and I like it on a high-speed reel. This one is 7.3 to 1, I believe. This one's the Lewis BB1. And that way I've had fish hit it and swim at you. They just knock slack in the line, and you got to just crank them to catch up to them, and they will absolutely hammer that in the fall. Now my next bait is Squarebills. By far one of my most productive, whenever I'm fishing shallow, one of my most productive baits in the fall. This is the KVD 1.5. This is the Spro Little John. Both of them are a little bit different. One's got the circuit board, one's just a regular old plastic, classic clear lip. It's flat-sided, and it dives just a little bit deeper than this right here, which I fish this on my same exact swim bait rod. Same exact swim bait rod. If I'm in a lake that doesn't have a whole lot of grass, and I'm fishing more rock drop-offs with stumps and that type of deal, Squarebill 100% of the time, it is an absolute magic bait. My next bait, obviously will come as no surprise as well, is Topwater. I'm gonna cheat and I'm gonna link this one together because these two right here are absolute fish catching machines. So I prefer, for the Topwater, if I'm in a lake that I am targeting smallmouth eat the absolute crud out of that. So that right there is a Storm Arashi Topwater. I fish this on a medium rod. A lot of people, they'll tell you to use moderate, blah blah blah. It's all personal preference. It's the same way with the swim jigs and chatterbaits. It's personal preference. If you want to throw a medium, go ahead and knock yourself out. I'll throw this on 30-pound braid, then I'll tie a 12-pound monofilament leader. Monofloats, braid floats, it's a happy win-win. You'll get a little bit of stretch that way, and I'll usually tie a couple feet worth of leader. So that way you get a little bit of a stretch since you're using braid and a medium action rod. So the next is by far a frog. Whenever there's largemouth in grass, what's better than a frog? Let's be real. I love the pop and spro frogs. They are phenomenal baits, but they are also $10–12 a bait. So yeah, but whenever it comes down to it, the Booyah Pad Crasher is my by far favorite budget frog. I mean, for like $6, I don't know if you guys will be able to see this thing, but it is absolutely chewed. I have caught so many fish on these frogs, and that's why I keep buying them. The hookup ratio is great on both of these, really. And the only reason I would switch out one for the other is if I'm fishing like really heavy grass, like heavy cover, I'll go to the regular Pad Crasher, and if I'm fishing some really sparse, like there's more stumps and that type of deal, the Poppin' Frog by far is money. As for my frog rod, it's the same frog rod I've had forever. So it's the Dobbins Fury. It's a 734C, so it's 7'3", 4 power, which would be a heavy. So it's a 7.3 heavy rod essentially. And I fished that on 50-pound braid. Both of these reels, they're actually the same exact reel. Both the Lew's MB. It's a Lew's Tournament MB, which they discontinued, and I'm really sad about that. So now I'm gonna have to find more up-to-date current reels to put in my videos. But I'm not sponsored, so it doesn't matter. But the Lew's MB, prefer both of these. They're both 7:3 to 1 gear ratio. It just really allows you to pick up that slack just a little bit more. Same with the longer rod on the frog. Whenever you got it way back in the back of pads and you're trying to get them out of there, longer rod just gets you able to pick up more line off the water whenever you get the hook set. So my next favorite bait might not come to a surprise, but some of you guys will know. The smallmouth killer, the Ned rig itself. I mean, this right here, flat out, if you haven't thrown a Ned rig, I've completely quit drop shotting just to switch to the Ned rig. It is by far the easiest do-nothing bait that will catch you so many fish of dink size all the way to absolute studs. I've caught 4 and 5 pound smallmouth on this exact setup right here, and it is one of my absolute favorite baits whenever the fish are being stingy. If they're a little bit deeper or there's not a whole lot of grass, the Ned rig, it's coming out 100% of the time. And I fish this on a 6'6" loose, or I don't know why I keep saying loose, 6'6" St. Croix Premier right here. So medium light, perfect little drop shot Ned rig, any really light finesse bait application. It's just wonderful. I fish it on 20-pound braid to a 8-pound fluorocarbon leader. All of my fluorocarbon is Seaguar and Bizex. I have found that is my absolute favorite fluorocarbon. I've never had an issue ever on anything ever. And I believe that the knot that I tie to my leader on all of my leaders is called the Alberto knot. And if it works, wait, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, you know what I mean? But that right there is my Ned rig setup, and I have that out on the boat every single time. If the fish are being stingy, if they're not eating the swim bait, they're not hitting the topwater, that right there is coming out of the rod box 100% of the time. So my last of my 5 absolute favorite fall baits, the football jig. The football jig is by far, it was one of the first bass lures that I learned how to use, and it is an absolute bass catching machine. Everything from smallmouth to largemouth here in the north. The football jig is just so convenient, is because you can drag it, you can hop it, you can flip it, you can swim it. There's nothing you can't do with any jig. This rod right here is quickly becoming one of my absolute favorite setups for jigs, flipping, just all around. If you're throwing a heavier bait, this rod right here is absolutely phenomenal. Which I have this paired, it's a 7.3 heavy Phoenix M1, and I have it paired on a Lew's MB, same as I have several rods that have this reel on here. 20-pound fluorocarbon on it. If I could get away with braid, I would. I just feel like I get more bites not with braid. I feel like I get more bites with fluorocarbon, so that's why I do the 20-pound. I wouldn't go any lower than 17, especially the way that I fish this, because I throw this into the thick stuff. If you're not getting hung, you're fishing the wrong spots. The flipping jig is phenomenal as well. It's really up to you, but personally I like to go out a little bit deeper still that time of year, and I'll drag a football head. As for the trailer, pick your poison. I personally throw the Rage Structure Bug 99.9% of the time. I'll switch over to a beaver style bait late fall, but 99% of the time I'm throwing a Rage Structure Bug on the back of this. So that's going to be all for my top 5 baits for the fall. So if you guys like the video, drop a like, leave a comment on what your favorite baits are for the fall. If you believe that there's a better bait, drop it in the comment section and see which one that you would take out and replace mine with. I'm curious as to know what you guys are using over there, but that's going to be all for me today. Cheers, boys and girls.